A lot of Seahawks fans this week are thinking about the defense. And I could certainly sit here and talk about the defense for 20, 25 minutes, and I could make this whole video about that. But it's all kind of obvious, isn't it, guys? I mean, the defense just lost their best player and the linchpin for them being able to run the scheme that they run. They also just lost Kendricks. Kendricks just got suspended by the NFL, so we almost certainly will not be seeing him play again this season. So I could talk about the defense, guys, because I'll tell you right now, there are going to be a few games this year where this defense gets lit up. Last time Earl got hurt, we saw it, and we're definitely going to see it this time, because last time we lost Earl, we still had Sherman, we still had Cam, we still had Bennett and Averill and all these guys, and Green Bay, Arizona, and Atlanta to end that season all dropped 30 plus on us. So, yeah, we're not going to see the Seahawks defense that we've come to expect, even this season that we've come to expect. We're not going to like it, but we just lost our best player. That's what happens. Realistically, the defense is going to do everything that it can to play as well as they can without their best player. And in some games it's going to be enough, and in some games it's not. But I believe the guys are going to do the best that they can, because I've seen them do the best that they can this season so far. I don't believe that a lot of these players that we see making plays out there for us are really that good. I don't believe a lot of the guys playing a big amount of snaps for this defense are nearly as good as they look. And yet they go out there and perform. So we are going to see a drop-off without Earl. We're going to see a drop-off without Kendricks until KJ Wright gets back. So hopefully that comes soon. But I don't think there's a lot to talk about with the defense, guys. We're going to give up more big plays. We're going to give up more third downs. But the pieces that we still have are going to make enough plays to make this a respectable NFL defense by the end of the season. We're going to have some good games. We're going to have some bad games. And at the end of the year, we will look back at this and say this defense did the best that they could. I could take this whole video to talk about Earl, but I've said everything I want to say already, I think. I mean, Earl Thomas has nothing to do with this team's present or future. Earl Thomas is not part of this team right now, and he will not be a part of this team in the future. 99.9% sure. If I was to sit here and talk about Earl Thomas for 20 minutes, I'd be talking about the past of the Seahawks. And there might be a video where it's time for me to do that. I will absolutely make videos about the past from time to time if I feel it's appropriate. But it has nothing to do with this team right now. This team will never have Earl Thomas suit up and play for them again. I am 99.9% sure. I could talk about his antics, the way he's acted over the past few months, the way he acted on the field on Sunday. You know, he shouldn't have done it, but I understand his frustration. That's really all I can say about that. Shouldn't have acted the way that he acted. You guys know what I'm talking about. But I understand his frustration. So, no, I'm not going to sit here and talk about that. I'm going to talk about what I was talking about last week and the week before in my midweek video. And it's starting to get a little, this is starting to get a little dire, guys. This is starting to get, like, serious. Like, we have to find a solution to this very quickly, or else whatever talent we have left and whatever mental faculties that we have in our coaching staff is going to be wasted if we cannot figure this out. So whiteboard is out, and I got to talk about the offense, guys, because this is what matters. The defense, I'm not even thinking about it right now, okay? They're going to do the best they can. They're going to be better next year when they get some new players in here. Some of these young players are going to continue to grow. I'm not thinking about the defense, guys. As long as we have Pete Carroll, the defense will find a way to look okay. And I'm going to believe that until the day where I see them not be okay. So It's the offense that needs to play much better than they are right now, and it's the offense that has no excuse, and it's the offense that if they do not get it together, there's no hope. So we're 4 games into the season. I wanted to break down a few things that we're looking at in the NFL right now, because what you're seeing on the Seahawks right now is not the norm at all. If you look around the league, you will see teams headed in one direction offensively, and you will see the Seahawks and a few other teams headed the other way. You will not see every team in the league struggling on offense. Not at all. The Seattle Seahawks, through 4 games, are 28th in yards. We are ahead of teams like the Jets, rookie quarterback, the Bills, rookie quarterback, Arizona, one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, and now a rookie quarterback, and Miami. And Miami, they got a quarterback who's, this close to losing his job. So he's not a rookie, but he's not good either. We are below teams like the Dallas Cowboys, and everybody likes to make fun of how bad Dak is. They have more yards than us. The New York Giants, with washed up Eli Manning and one of the worst offensive lines in the league, they are producing more offensive yards than us. The Tennessee Titans, who started Blaine Gabbert for quite a few snaps over the past 3 weeks because Mariota was hurt. Blaine Gabbert. The Philadelphia Eagles, who played half their games so far with their backup quarterback. The Cleveland Browns, who spent 3 games or 2.5 games with Tyrod Taylor before they finally got their guy in there. Those offenses are clearly better than us. Points, 24th. Bottom quarter of the league, basically. 21 points a game, 302 yards a game. We're near the bottom in yards, and we're kind of close to the bottom in points. 331 yards is our season high. 331 yards. Over half the teams in the league average more than 331 yards a game. In fact, 75% of the league is averaging more yards per game than our season high. Our season high in points, 24 against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not going to count the Denver game because one of those touchdowns came off a short field, but if you want to count it, okay, we've scored 24 points a game twice. That's our season high. Almost half the league is averaging 24 points a game or better. Almost half the league is averaging 24 points or better. We get to 24 points and we feel ecstatic, like the offense played great. For half the teams in this league, that's average. We are 27th in big plays. Darrell Bevell, every year he was here with Russell Wilson, we were one of the best teams in the league in generating big plays. Runs of 12 or more, passes of 16 or more. Even last year when the offense sucked, we had big plays. Big plays to Lockett, big plays to Richardson, Baldwin making plays down the field, long runs because somebody broke a tackle. Even last year, with the offense being straight trash, we were big play experts. This year, the teams that have fewer big plays than us are the teams that are starting rookie quarterbacks and the teams that have no passing game. Why are we down there with them? Why are we not well above them when we have a veteran quarterback who has made Pro Bowls, won playoff games, won a Super Bowl? We're down there with them. Speaking of that quarterback, at the rate that he is going through 4 games, if he keeps up the yardage totals that he has through 4 games, he will end this season with 3,720 total offensive yards. That's his passing plus his rushing. 3,720. That would be about 100 more than he had in his rookie season, and significantly less than he has had in every other season of his career, including the year where he played with no mobility because he had a leg injury for half the season. Why are we seeing that? I saw something on Twitter today that made me want to throw up, and I'm going to go ahead and bring it up here. Russell Wilson in 2018 through four games, there's time for him to turn it around, but through 4 games, his statistics are almost identical to the numbers per game by another Seahawks quarterback that I think everybody watching this video will remember, Tavares Jackson. The completions, the completion percentage, the yards, the interceptions, the passer rating, everything is almost identical, except Wilson's throwing more touchdowns. Wilson is getting sacked more. Everything else is the spitting image of Tavares Jackson in 2011. Go look up how much money Tavares Jackson was making that year. Go look up how much money Wilson's making this year. Go look at how Wilson has performed in his career, and go look at how T-Jack performed in his career prior to 2011. I don't get it. We were never this bad under Bevel. It got bad under Bevel. We had some bad games, but this is something else. And the way in which we are bad makes me have no patience. I wanted to have patience with Schottenheimer, but we are bad in a particular way that makes me feel like we need to move on now. And I never thought I could get that way with Schottenheimer after 4 games, but here it is. If you look around the rest of the NFL, a vast majority of the teams you're going to find, they're killing it. 9 teams in the NFL right now average more than 400 yards a game. 9 teams average 100 more yards than the Seahawks do. 12 teams, so over a third of the league, averages 25 or more a game. A third of the league, more actually. We average about 21. You're going to say it's only 4 points? That 4 points is huge in these games, guys. I need that stupid 4 points. Believe me. We've lost a game by 3 points. We've lost a game by 7 points. Those little margins, big deal. Big, big deal. If you look around at specific teams, obviously you have the powerhouses. The Kansas City Chiefs with a second-year quarterback. Best offense in the league through 4 games. 38, 42, 38, and 27. Last night, I watched the Kansas City Chiefs score 27 points, and I was like, what's wrong with them? Why don't they look very good? What's going on? They don't look as good as they did last week or the week before. And meanwhile, they got to 27 points. My team can't get to 27 points they can barely get to 27 points in 2 games. They haven't broken 25 points this season. Los Angeles Rams, they're the other gold standard for offense in the NFL right now. 33, 34, 35, 38. Consistency. Constantly putting up points. Every drive they're threatening. Every quarter. No down and distance situation puts them out of range of a score. They are always trying to add on. They are always giving themselves the opportunity to add on. That's a team with a third-year quarterback and not a huge investment in some of those wide receivers. They have great players. They have players they've spent a ton of money on. They have players they've spent first-round picks on. But they're doing the right things on that offense down there that is making some of those players look much better than they've been other places in the NFL and in previous years, even on the same team. The Cincinnati Bengals, average quarterback. Andy Dalton, we know what he is. He's an average quarterback. They've got good weapons. They've got a couple good running backs. They've got a couple good wide receivers. But, they're not the greatest show on turf. And they are producing 34, 34, 21. They kind of had a rough game against Carolina, but Their rough game wasn't any worse our average game, and then 37. These teams are just piling up points, moving down the field constantly, picking up yards, picking up touchdowns, scoring every time that they touch the ball, sometimes it feels like. The Falcons, they had a bad first game. They scored 12 points. They couldn't score in the red zone. They couldn't get in the end zone. They didn't know what they were doing. Matt Ryan looked terrible. 31, 37, 36. And by the way, they're not winning games. Atlanta has lost their last 2 games where they have scored 37 points and 36 points because the other team is scoring too. So not only can you look at some of these teams and say, wow, they're really scoring points, you can look at the teams they're playing and say, wow, they're scoring points too. And you can find examples of this everywhere. Even the teams that don't have monster offensive numbers in every game, they have had games where they put up 40 points, where their quarterback has thrown for 400 yards, where they've had 450 to 500 total yards of offense. You won't find anything like that in Seattle right now. 11 quarterbacks through 4 games are averaging at least 300 passing yards a game. Wilson's at like 220. When I was a kid, 300 yards a game for a quarterback was a huge deal. It was like, wow, that guy's really playing good. Now, it should be the minimum for any good quarterback in this league in a good passing offense, unless they're just winning by 40 in every game. Ryan Fitzpatrick. I have watched the NFL for 22 years now. I have seen Ryan Fitzpatrick as a rookie. I've seen him as a Jet, as a Bill, all these different. I remember when he was on the Rams when he was a rookie. I know what that dude is. I know what he does. I know how good he is. Ryan Fitzpatrick went out there, the backup quarterback for the Buccaneers, and had 3 straight 400-yard games to start this season. 3 straight 400-yard games. A low-end starter to a high-end backup. That is what Fitzpatrick has been his entire, I want to say, 13-year career in the NFL. Sometimes he looks okay, but he breaks your heart and he always lets you down and he never sustains anything. That dude threw for 400 yards or more in 3 straight games. Russell Wilson can't throw for 400 yards in 2 games combined, these last 2 games. And you're going to talk about the weapons that they have, but the difference in what we perceive Wilson to be and what we perceive Fitzpatrick to be is ginormous. And one of those guys produced, and one of those guys is just not right now. And Baker Mayfield, first ever NFL start 2 days ago, goes out there. He doesn't play the best game ever, but he's producing. He's moving the ball down the field. He's distributing the ball to his wide receivers. The Browns put up 42 points. Quarterback's first ever start in the NFL on the road in Oakland. It's not a great defense, but you would expect, a modest game. They throw up 42 points. And by the way, they didn't win that game either because the team that they were playing, the Raiders, put up 45. And the Raiders are trash. The Raiders are going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. They have an overrated, glorified game manager quarterback. He put up 42 points in regulation as well. We can't even come close to that. We get to 24 and we feel like, phew, we did our job. We played great. Josh Allen, another rookie, another guy who doesn't really look like he's even ready to play in the NFL. He had a game where his team scored 27 points. I'm not saying it was because of him, but the Buffalo Bills with, Josh Allen and a bunch of nobodies around him. The only guy on their offense I can even think of off the top of my head who played in that game is Kelvin Benjamin. And Kelvin Benjamin is not that good. Okay, Shady was injured in that game. Don't say Shady. Shady was out. Even he had a game where the team put up points. If the Buffalo Bills offensive coaching staff is able to put together a game plan that produces points against the Vikings, Why are we not seeing it here? I know we have more talent on our offense than Buffalo does. I know it. But they've scored 27 points in the game. I'm still waiting for this team to do that. Aaron Rodgers, on one leg, has thrown for at least 265 yards in all 4 games this season. And he missed like a quarter of one of those games, by the way. He's limping around out there. He's not as mobile as he's used to. He's working without Jordy Nelson, his longtime #1 receiver. They don't have tremendous receiver talent around him. He's throwing to guys that until this season I had never heard of, and he's getting it done. And I know Rodgers is a different kind of beast, but Wilson is supposed to be on the tier below Rodgers. He's not supposed to be 6 tiers below. This offense is supposed to be a tier below Green Bay. It's not supposed to be Green Bay's here and we're down here. Meanwhile, the Chiefs are up here. You can go around the league and you can look at different teams. Mitch Trubisky threw for 6 touchdowns yesterday. That's a second-year quarterback who has looked mediocre at best until yesterday. Deshaun Watson, not playing great, has had, I think, 2 or 3 straight games where he's had at least 350 total yards of offense. Something like that. Kirk Cousins has thrown for 400 yards in like 2 or 3 games already this year. Vikings aren't winning, but Kirk Cousins in that offense is producing. It's not a Kirk Cousins thing. Believe me. We have enough on this offense to where I should be saying that we are at the very least up there with the middle of the road offenses in this league. I should not be sitting here and saying we are right there at the bottom, because we have spent high draft picks on some of these guys. Rashad Penny, Ethan Posick, Jermaine Ifedi. We have spent, copious sums of money on some of these offensive players. Wilson, Baldwin. We have players that we have spent both draft picks and money on. Dwayne Brown, Britt, Lockett. The investment is there. Yes, there are players on this offense that we have no investment in that we are putting out there. Guys like, Brandon Marshall, J.R. Sweezy, DJ Fluker. There are guys, you can find guys on this offense. Chris Carson, Mike Davis. You can find guys on this offense that we don't have an investment in. So if they don't produce, we're not shocked. But every team in the league has those guys every year. Every team in the league is depending on rookies and budget guys to produce. So that cannot be the excuse either. What is it, guys? Every other team in the league, or 80% of the other teams in this league, are headed that way. They're going forward. They are moving into a new NFL where teams are getting 400 yards a game like it's nothing. It's not even a big deal. Quarterbacks are throwing 5 to 6 touchdown passes a few times a season. It barely even makes Sports Center because everybody's doing it. We're moving that way. We're moving that way with teams like the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants and teams that start rookie quarterbacks. And I'll give you, there are teams that are surprisingly weak on offense through 4 games. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles look below average on offense. They're actually scoring less than we are. But I can see why that is. They lost all their coaches. Their quarterback is, their starting quarterback missed the first 2 games, and he's clearly rusty. They've missed all their best wide receivers for most of the season so far. They've had offensive line issues. They've had running back injuries. I don't see anything like that on this team that makes me look and go, okay, it makes sense why we're not producing. It makes sense that our offense is no better than the Titans' offense when they've had Blaine Gabbert start part of the season. Offensive line, you can find metrics out there that say our offensive line is playing totally fine, especially after those first 2 games. But even overall, you can find metrics that say, the offensive line, they're playing okay, especially since Fluker got back. But either way, I don't get it, guys. And if we cannot figure this out, there's going to be some scapegoats. And people at the end of this year are going to be screaming, get Carroll out of here. Because I'll tell you right now, I agree. Pete Carroll is a problem with this offense right now. Pete Carroll doesn't want to join the rest of the NFL with their explosive big play offenses that just march up and down the field for 500 yards and, is a threat to score constantly. Pete Carroll isn't about that. Pete Carroll wants to grind things out with his defense. That's how he feels. That's how he feels what wins football in the NFL. I get all of that, people. If we brought somebody young and hip in here, like our Sean McVay or our Andy Reid, not even young and hip, just offensively educated, we would see some improvements to this offense. I don't want to see this defense without Carroll. I said it in my last video. I'm going to say it again. I do not need to see this defense without Pete Carroll. So unless this team wants to lose all of that defensive knowledge that Pete Carroll has, his guru-like work making some of these players look good who have no right to be looking good. Trey Flowers looked great out there on Sunday. That dude is playing in his third career NFL game at a position that he did not play in college. If you guys want to keep that, then this offense is going to have to find a way. And I don't believe it can be done with this offensive coordinator. Maybe it can't be done with some of this personnel. Maybe it won't happen this season. But you got to give me something to believe that it will happen next year. Because time is running out. Paul Allen just got diagnosed with the lymphoma or whatever it is again. He might go this offseason. I don't have time to wait for your defense to become the best in the league again. I don't have 3 years for you to draft all the best defensive players and build the best defense. No, get out of here. I got to get somebody who's going to fix this offense. I don't want to see that. And no Seahawks fans should. But we might not have a choice if things don't get better. All right, this might be the longest video I've ever made, but it's getting dire, guys. I mean, I was alarmed about the offense last week, even after we played pretty good against the Cowboys, but after seeing what I saw against Arizona, it just becomes more and more clear to me that this staff and these players mixed together, it's not going to produce the results that we need to keep this staff together, this team together. Are you going to make excuses for them? You didn't have excuses for Bevel, at least not last year, and I don't have a problem with that. We shouldn't make excuses for Bevel. But we shouldn't make excuses for Schottenheimer either, because right now I know somebody down there is going to say in my comments, oh, well, we didn't have Baldwin for the first 4 games. We didn't have Fluker for the first 2, and I'll give you a little bit of that. And then last week we get Baldwin back, and now you're going to say, oh, it's because we didn't have Carson, like Carson would have done anything that Davis didn't do, and Baldwin was rusty. Okay. But what happens if next week and the week after and the week after we don't see anything better? Is it going to be, oh, well, Disley was out, like that's a big deal, and Dixon is still not in, and Baldwin's still not 100%. Is it what? How long can we go on? Because the way I see it, when we made our change at offensive coordinator, we just traded a group of problems for another group of problems. We are seeing improvement in some areas. The offensive line is better. Thank you, Mike Solari. The running game is better than last year. We are better in the red zone than we were last year. We haven't had that many turnovers. Not that we had a ton of turnovers under Bevel. Some of the same problems are still there. We're still wasting timeouts because the play call isn't getting in. We're still, bad on third down. We're still bad on short yardage. But the play calling is not situationally smart. And we've added other problems. Like, we don't make big plays anymore. We are one of the worst big play teams in the league. Did we get better? No. We're not better than we were last year on offense. We're just different. We traded having a better offensive line and running game for having less explosion and not as many points. Okay, 30 minutes. I'm done. it's starting to look bleak, guys. So I don't know. Peace.